Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about mistakes to avoid making if you are looking for your first ever hair salon job. And as always, whenever I talk about making mistakes, I use myself as an example because I've made more than enough to share with you guys so that you guys can avoid making mistakes. I feel like I should make a series of salon advice videos because I'm going to be focusing on this for a little while. Okay, so I don't have these tips written down like I usually do, so I really hope that I don't forget anything. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so first of all, I would always say look for your first salon job before you finish cosmetology school. And by the way, you do have to go to cosmetology school to work in a hair salon. I know that I do a lot of braiding videos and things like that, and you don't need a license for that, but to actually work in a salon, you need to be a licensed stylist. So when you are getting close to the end of your school year, or at least halfway through, I would say start looking for where you want to work. So the first tip I would say is look for a busy salon. A big salon, a well-known salon, somewhere that has constant traffic. I know for me personally, when I first got into cosmetology, I always assumed it'll be easier to start off in a small salon because it'll be less busy, it'll be more calm, easy for me to adjust into this new lifestyle of being a hairstylist. That is false. That is all false. And I tell you that in school too. Look for some place that is busy and well known because you need to build a clientele. In school, you do build a clientele, but a lot of those clients don't end up following you because most people who go to beauty schools to get their hair done will keep on doing that because they're going there for the cheaper prices. Because obviously they're getting work done by students, so they're paying a significantly lesser amount at the schools than in a salon. So some will be faithful and follow you, but I can guarantee you most of them will stay at the school because they went to the school for a purpose. I don't remember how many repeat clients I had, but I know only one still came to me after I left school. Only one. Luckily, she had 2 daughters, so I had 3 clients technically out of her, but that was it. Okay, that's it. So you want to go somewhere that has constant traffic because that means there's more walk-ins. And when you are a new stylist, you are depending on walk-ins because nobody's going there looking for you. Nobody's going to go into a salon and be like, oh, hey, Jen, I know you usually do my hair, but who else do you have that I can go to today? Like, no, everybody goes to their regular trusted stylist. Some people don't care. You always get the average chair hopper, which is someone who doesn't go to a specific stylist, they just go to whoever. But most times people stick with their stylist. So you want to go somewhere where there are constant walk-ins. So you either get the chair hoppers or you get the people who are new in the area looking for a new stylist. You just want somebody who is not going to anyone specific because usually when that happens and there's a new stylist in the salon, the stylist would send them to the newer stylist to help you build up. So you definitely want to go somewhere that's big. The mistake I made was going to a very small salon. There was no traffic. It was in a bad location. It was on a back road. There was no good parking. It was terrible. So I had no chance of building a clientele. I should have never worked there. To be completely honest, my very first salon there, I only worked there because I knew the owner and I kind of got guilt tripped into working for her, but I never really wanted to. But yeah, especially because when I saw how small and quiet and dead the salon was, I worked there for almost a year and didn't get a single client. Like, I had clients that she would give me to help her out, but like, you can do all the advertising you can, give out all the business cards and stuff like that, but if the salon is in a bad location, more than likely nobody is going to go there looking for someone new. Everyone who came to that salon knew her from where she used to work. So when she opened her own place, she already had a following, but it's a bad spot for new stylists. It was me and another girl who were there. We were both fresh out of school. Neither of us did any work at all day. It was a terrible spot. It was a terrible idea. I was so glad to leave. All right, so that brings me to my next tip, which is, this is going to sound kind of harsh, but I don't recommend working for somebody that you know. You always want to keep friendships or personal relationships separate from your work life or your business life, or else it makes things complicated. And like I said, that's what I did with my first job. I worked for somebody that I already knew personally. I didn't enjoy it there, and as much as I wanted to leave, I couldn't because I just couldn't bring myself to tell her that I want to quit. Because I felt like I was being ungrateful because she was like, now you don't even have to look for work after school. You already have a job like this. You don't have to go worry about interviews. So she really thought she was doing me a favor, but honestly, she was putting me at a disadvantage because she didn't have a good enough salon for a new stylist to go to. And not for nothing, she didn't have the biggest clientele either. I'm actually surprised that she opened up her own spot without having as much of a following. But that's neither here or there. That's nothing to do with anything. But yeah, it wasn't a good spot. So working for someone makes things complicated because we hairstylists, we move around a lot. Like, it takes a while to find a salon that you are comfortable at. And if you're working for someone that you know personally, it is always hard to make that move. Sometimes it's not even that you're afraid to do or you're uncomfortable, but sometimes they will take it personally and it can mess up whatever friendship or relationship you already had. So it's always good to just never get involved in that. You know, nothing personal, but I just rather work somewhere else, something like that. Don't get involved in the first place, because then it's a tough situation to get out of. There's always some sort of complication somewhere down the line. So it's always best to just work for someone who's a complete stranger to you. Hey guys, so I'm now editing this video and I realized I forgot to mention something. So I'm here talking about how it's best to work for a complete stranger, but there is one exception to the rule, at least in my opinion. I will say one person that you can work for who you do know would be your hairstylist. Let's say you have a very comfortable relationship with your current hairstylist and they're hiring for a new stylist and you feel comfortable enough to work for them. I will say that that's okay. But besides that, I will say work for a complete stranger. The next tip I would say is look at salon reviews before you apply for this job. Because when you are fresh out of school, you don't know as much as you might think you do. A lot of things they teach you in school, you're not going to need it out in the real world. They teach you so many old-fashioned hairstyles in school just so you can pass your state boards. But when it comes to up-to-date trends and stuff like that, they don't teach that. So you want to go somewhere where somebody can teach you what you need to know. So look at the reviews of the salon. If they have bad reviews, obviously, what can they teach you? So make sure you are reading reviews. That's something I didn't do. My second salon job, which I worked at for 3 weeks and 2 days because it was such a horrible experience, I should have read the reviews. And if I had read the reviews, I would have never worked there. This salon owner got so many bad reviews for burning people's hair, overcharging, prices not being consistent, the salon being messy, and these are all things that I noticed while I was working there. But had I read the reviews, I would have never taken that chance. I learned absolutely nothing from working there except what not to do. So definitely make sure you are working somewhere where they can actually teach you something, because you are at a state where you need to learn. Like, learning is very important fresh out of school. Cosmetology school is not enough, so your first job needs to be a teaching job for you. That leads me to my next tip, which is be an assistant. Work somewhere where they're looking for an assistant, not a stylist. Not every job is willing to hire assistants or willing to teach you. You always want to mention that you are new out of school, because not everyone is willing to help you build a clientele. Not everyone is willing to show you everything. Like, not everybody is cut out to be a teacher. Luckily, I didn't make this mistake. I always went to my job interviews and said, I just got out of school, you know, the other day, basically. But I mean, I was only 20 years old when I got out of school, so I feel like people looked at me and they're like, yeah, obviously she's new. But you know, you can go to school at all ages, so you could be like in your 30s or in your 40s and now getting into the field. So people aren't going to look at you and assume that you're inexperienced. So make sure that you mention that whenever you go to an interview, and make sure that they're okay with teaching you. One of my more recent salon jobs, when I was being interviewed, she literally told me that she's not willing to teach anyone. You need your own clientele. And I was like, yeah, don't worry about it, I got that. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little offended about the way that she said it. Like, I understand why she said it, but it was the tone that she used. But anyway, it's understandable that not everyone is willing to teach people just because they own a business. Not everybody has that patience, and not everyone has that time. If you are a really, really busy stylist, you might not have the time to stop and teach a newer person. So you want to go somewhere where the person seems patient and they're willing to teach you. Because the thing is, everyone started off somewhere. All stylists did. So most stylists would be understanding about the fact that you need to be taught. But for those who don't, you don't want to work there. You don't want to work anywhere where they're saying that you need your own clientele, because you don't have that. So just be cautious of that. I feel like I was all over the place with that one. But long story short, make sure that you are looking for an assistant position. I kind of got off track there, but apply to be an assistant. As an assistant, you don't need your own clientele. The only thing you're really going to do by yourself is wash hair. Everything else will be assistant other stylists, whether it's helping apply color, threading needles for a weave, doing the braid downs for a weave or a wig install, and they'll do the other part, things like that. And then as you're assisting, they're usually teaching you more and more, and then eventually you'll get to the point where you can build your own clientele. So just make sure that that's all understood, and that's the kind of experience you're going to get when you go for your interview. Again, I'm rambling, but I hope that all makes sense. So my next tip is be mindful of the way that they pay you in the salon. So I literally just made a video about the different ways that hair salons paid, and I feel like the way you get paid matters depending on what stage of hairstyling you are at. So if you are a fresh, new stylist, I recommend going somewhere where they'll pay you a salary, and then move to commission. Not salary forever, because not all salary paying salon jobs eventually move you up to that. I worked at a place like that where I thought they would, and then after working there for a while, I realized they were never going to pay me a commission, and I was like, so why am I bringing you my clients? Because at this point, I was already well established in my hair field, and I was just looking for somewhere to work. So I'm like, why am I bringing the clients that I worked just to give you all my money? So you want to work with a salary, because if you start off working for commission, you're not going to get any money. And that's the mistake that I made. I always worked, my first and third salon job, I was still very new in the field, and I agreed to work for commission. I should not have done that because I was making no money. I had no clientele, so where am I going to get commission off of? If you are working for a salon and they give you an assistant position, but they're giving you a commission, I personally would be skeptical about that, but I'm not saying that's necessarily a red flag. It's just in my experience it is, because how are they going to give you commission when you're not even doing full services? So they're going to give you a percentage of somebody's percentage. You know what I mean? That's not going to work. So I would say just work for a salary. Make sure it's a livable salary for you. It may not be the biggest pay in the world, but you will move up one day. But then after, usually in the interview, they would tell you that after you start bringing in clientele and making a certain amount of money, or bringing in a certain amount of money every week or whatever it is, they'll move you up to commission, because that would be better for you. The more experience you get, the more you would benefit off of getting commission. But at first, you definitely want salary. Don't be like me and work for 5 months straight and not get a single dollar in your pocket besides the tips that you get from shampooing hair. It's not worth it. And it's very wrong for a salon to offer you commission when they know you have no clientele whatsoever. We all started somewhere. We all know that. Don't let them take advantage of you not knowing any better. So make sure that you are well aware of how they're going to pay you, and make sure the way they pay you is worth it to you. So salary first, move up to commission. And I would say finally, the biggest and most basic thing to look out for is just a good atmosphere. You want to work for somebody who makes you feel comfortable. Not only are they a good teacher, but make sure that they're kind to you. Because, I've had so many bad experiences. So back to my second job, the one that only paid me a salary and got all those bad reviews. Not only was she not a good stylist, but she was just a mean person. She was so mean. And for what? She was so impatient. And, I'm a student. I'm not a student, but I'm fresh out of school. It was me and 2 other girls who worked for her. We were all fresh out of school, and she was so mean. Why hire new people if you don't have patience? So try and read that atmosphere when you go into a salon looking for a new job, going to your interview. Look out for that, because no matter how good a teacher is, if they're making you feel uncomfortable for making small mistakes and shaming you for that and just making you feel miserable just for going to work every day and making you reconsider your decision to even become a hairstylist in the first place, leave. I could do a whole story time on that. My second salon job literally killed my confidence. She was so mean for nothing. So anyway, I'm not gonna get off into that, because obviously there's some deep-rooted anger in there. Just kidding. I'm good. That's way in the past, but still. Anyway, so those are all my tips and mistakes to avoid when looking for your first salon job. I hope that somebody out there found this helpful. If anybody has any more advice or more questions, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!